Greetings in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, Melech of Yasharal, Kahan forever, according to the order of Melchizedek. All esteem, honor, and glory unto our Lua, Yahuwah. This is Melech Shalama Trading. Right now, I'm going to do a little live narration of a possible Wyckoff accumulation structure happening above the central pivot and the Camarilla S3 level, creating a golden pivot zone around this level here. So let me just see if I can, you know what, let me do this. Tangle. Actually, I think I might need to do this another way. You know what? Let me just forget that right now. I think I'll use the EpiPen. All right, so let me just move this up. So basically, let me start from the beginning of the session and kind of show where I missed some trades, right? So let me just quickly go over this. Right, so we basically had like a buying climax here. We had an uptrust here at the open. We created the automatic reaction. Where is it? Price action came down here somewhere. Wait, hold on. Right, so the distribution actually, the buying climax actually happened here. Automatic reaction came down to the Camarilla R3 and the floor pivot R1 level, right? We bounced back up, created the uptrust. Then we had a test at the open at Camarilla R4. These levels right here came up to this level, tested, started to sell off, right? So we basically distributed from in the pre-market, distribution structure was formed, and I missed these trades here. Camarilla R3 was a retest, and let me open that up so you could see it. Right, so this is basically the open where we created the test right there, Camarilla R4. If I didn't oversleep, I slept in late today, so I missed these setups. And let's see here. Let me just open this up at the RTH open so you could see it. Right, so we basically pushed up into Camarilla R4. You see that's the dash line I put there. And I'm putting these dash lines now to kind of, sometimes I get so focused on the price action that I actually forget these levels in the columns and stuff. So just as a reminder, I put these dash lines here. So that's Camarilla R4. When we ran into that liquidity absorbing, right, the buyers, we started to distribute here, created a little mini distribution for about 3 minutes, and we started to fail right there. Right, so basically this was the test from the prior distribution, right? That's the test. Started creating that test right there. This is a test, LPSY, and then we started to break down, right? So within the bigger distribution, all of this here was basically a test, right? So just at the open, could have caught something like this right here. You could see all the buying exhaustion right here on this test right here, right? This would have been a nice entry. That would have been the first upper deviation, and that's the volume point of control migrating upwards, right? You see it's coming from there, light blue line, pushing up, right? And then it migrates down. So that would have been a nice setup. That would have been a pivot level. This would have been a buying exhaustion. We didn't have any major selling right there on the volume side, but I mean, we had volume here on the volume bars, but the market pulse had just started moving to the sell side, the green to the purple. That's the volume pressure imbalance, and that just started to move to the sell side after this, right? So our entries are usually around these levels here when we see the exhaustion. We're not waiting too much to try and catch it while it's actually moving. We want to catch it on the exhaustion, right? So the push above this first upper deviation, which is that dash green line right there, you start seeing the exhaustion, and then sellers start taking control, right? So we break previous week's high, right? That's the pink line right there, right? We retest that, we push down again. So let's follow price action. Right, so we run into liquidity on the bid down here at first upper deviation, the weekly first upper deviation, the VWAP. But on the daily deviations, we're running into second lower deviation. That's this line right here. Let me just point it out. So that's first lower deviation. That's VWAP right there, right? VWAP first lower deviation. That's second lower deviation, third lower deviation. I mean 2.5, and then the third lower deviation, right? This is actually the ETH VWAP, anchored from the ETH open yesterday. This is the ETH London session, right? So we break in London session at previous week's high, right? London session VWAP, solid white line, right? That's ETH VWAP. And I know there's a lot on the chart, so just want to point these things out. I kind of use them to gauge volume, right? So I'm basically reading volume and the order flow. So this is the volume point of control, moving down, came down to this level. We had the push up off of this liquidity. We broke down. Volume point of control moves down. We retest it. Buyers can't find their footing. We take on this liquidity and we take out all this liquidity here, right? We push down. We retest again. This is first lower deviation of the London session. That's first lower deviation of the RTH session. That's the VPOC right there. We retest and we sell off again, right? We're running into now floor pivot R1, right? So we break down floor pivot R1. Right, and this is the second trade setup that I missed here, right? So we basically broke through this liquidity, broke through R3, Camarilla R3, and floor pivot R1, right? If you notice, the selling is kind of drying up a little bit. We run through this liquidity, possibly getting absorbed. We stop down here, right? We have iceberg buyers, 40 buy stops. We start to trickle to the upside, shallow kind of reversal, no really big buying volume. If you notice, no buying volume, no really big buying spikes. Um, the volume point of the volume pressure imbalance is still to the sell side, right? Showing signs of reversal is going from purple, dark purple, to green, right? So I have it set to when it crosses the threshold, when it starts spiking on the sell side, it turns to green, kind of indicating a reversal, right? So you see it moves back into purple, so still on the sell side, right? And it stays on the sell side. It doesn't push above until this level here. So we push back up to Camarilla R3. This is a possible setup. Could have taken a short here, came down here, reversed on me, could have stopped out, came up to R1, creates another setup right there. Buy sweeps, iceberg sellers. We have some volume going in there. Exhaustion, little retest right here. Could have got entries anywhere around this level here, right? That's also ETH VWAP. That's London, RTH session VWAP. That's London VWAP, right? So you can see the iceberg, the volume point of control migrates down to this level here, all right? So when we push above, volume came in, volume pressure imbalance just moving to the buy side. Possible exhaustion absorption right here. You see there's heavy liquidity. Price can push through. Possible sell entry here again from like a LPSY. This is basically like a LPSY. Got the sell-in right back down to 63.20 from 63.29. Right. So those were two setups right there from Camarilla R4 and floor pivot R1 and Camarilla R3 for a short trade. So basically we would come back down here, test the lows, possibly stop out or manage the trade, push it back up, probably stop out around here with heavy volume. It would come back, retest Camarilla R3 again, possible setup here again, right? Possible distribution, liquidity on the offer, right? Not too much volume on the buy side. No real buying spikes from the volume pressure imbalance, right? Could have taken another short here, right? Let's see here. Could have taken another short here, push down, possibly start to manage the trade, maybe stay in the trade, or possibly re-enter the trade after managing the trade if we break above here and seeing that after this level here, probably stop out, probably re-enter here and sell off again. And from that setup there, we came all the way down to yesterday's high. So if I caught a setup somewhere around here, or this retest right here, 63.24.25, we could catch that all the way down to 63.14. Right, so after that, we move all the way back up. Definitely gonna manage the trade if it pulls down to this level here and starts moving up. We'll probably stop out. We get another attempt right here. This is another setup, right? Short entry at the VWAP. Volume point of control is moving down here again, right? Another short entry, manage the trade, probably stop out. Could enter here again. That's weekly Camarilla R3, solid red line right there. Iceberg sellers, buy sweeps, exhaustion on the buy side, sell again, and could have caught a nice drop here, right? Probably manage the trade on this retracement. So we basically come down to this level here now. Let's see. Let me just go to current price action. Right, so we basically drop down to around this previous week's settlement area, overnight low, right? You can see in the columns over here, overnight low. This is the weekly POC, weekly top central, weekly central pivot, weekly bottom central. And on the daily, we have the value area high, we have the central pivot, and we have the Camarilla S3 right here. So I have these dashed lines here, all representing this support level right here. So what I'm looking for right now is a possible accumulation. So let's open this up a little bit. So what could possibly be happening here now is this is the selling climax, automatic reaction, secondary test, uptrust action, and this could be like a lower point of supply, and we're actually breaking out, jumping across the creek right here, having a little retest. See, the retest is basically at this level right here. Now if we don't get what I'm banking on is a spring below these levels. Let me just show that again. Kind of tighten it up. Or you know what? Let me just plot these out. So this could be my right. So 6300 is the selling climax. Right. So let's see. Automatic rally is somewhere around here. So around is yesterday's settlement. So we'll put it just below there. Automatic rally right here at 63.10.50. right? So that's the automatic rally. We have the secondary stop right here. Let's see the secondary stop. Last price is at 63.0375. So let's see 63.0375. Right, so that's going to be my secondary stop. It's basically in the middle of the range of the automatic rally. So this is showing that there's significant buying happening here. It's kind of in the medium of the automatic rally, so it's kind of showing there is significant buying pressure, because usually if there's enough selling pressure, it would come back down to this level here at the selling climax, right around this level, to create the secondary stop. But the way that we stopped in the middle here and we got buyers, then we got volume pushing above here to create the uptrust action, it's showing that there is buying interest. Plus there's selling exhaustion here, right? You see they're getting absorbed, heavy volume, but no follow through on the sell side, right? So that's showing some buying interest right there. So let's just label this up here as well. So around here is the uptrust action. Right, so you see my sellers are coming back down now, right? So we might break below this level here, right? So I'm not gonna label this really. This is basically like a test or sign of strength, I would say. Let's just call this here. I would say that's the jump across the creek, right? So let's just put this here. Because we actually broke out of the uptrust action, right? So we have strong buying pushing us up here, 50 buy sweeps, 60 buy stops, and we have some iceberg sellers in play right here. So we come back up to RTH VWAP, right? This is first lower deviation. We get in support here again. So somebody is trying to buy right here. They're trying to prevent price from coming down again into this secondary stop area. Right, so we have some resistance here at the automatic rally. This is where sellers first came in and pushed us down to the secondary stop area. So 63.10, 50 to 63.0375. So let's see if that's going to happen again. We have iceberg sellers in play. We have liquidity on the offer coming in. See it right here. Right, so liquidity on the offer. Absorb some buyers right there, liquidity on the offer. See it's kind of tracking price coming down here. All of this here, moving down until they get the reversal and they run into this liquidity on the offer. We have the iceberg seller right here. We have 16 buy stops. We have in buying exhaustion at yesterday's settlement. That's also yesterday's VPOC. This is trading views yesterday's VPOC on the session volume, and this is Bookmap's yesterday's VPOC. We have a bunch of volume points of controls. That's 2-week volume points of control. This is the weekly session so far, and this is weekly VWAP. So we have some buyers trying to step in at this level, right? So We still have this liquidity trying to press down on price, right? So 107, 100, 94, 92. And this is also weekly value area high, right? So we have some contention going on here. Let's see what who's gonna come out the victor. But it's overall it's looking like accumulation down at this level. So basically around this level, it's the value area high for the week. So basically buyers are trying to defend this level, right? So trying to keep price action out of last week's value area and maintain above this value area high from last week. And seeing that there's a lot of volume confluence in this area here, it's looking like buyers have to defend a lot, right? So that's why there's a lot of volume confluence in this area at value area highs. So they're trying to defend this area to push price to higher levels. But as we saw at the RTH open, there is distribution happening in the market though. So what I'm seeing here volume wise, we had a push up, we're having another attempt on lower volume. So we might get buying exhaustion here again. And the overall thing I'm looking for again is like a spring action coming down here for a reversal, right? So anytime I get some heavy selling down below these areas here, you just clean that up. So heavy selling below these areas, I'm looking to buy. And you see this is weekly POC level as well, right? So if we scoop below these levels for the spring, we should get a nice reversal up to these levels again. Camarilla R3 and floor pivot R1. And let's see, we have buy sweeps. Those are those numbers right there in the pink signs next to them. That kind of arrow right there, 491, 110, 22. So the sell sweeps are usually indicating that there's a reversal to the upside, right? If sellers don't take control, right? These buy sweeps here kind of indicate that there's potential counter rotation, right? So to have this as a setup for reversal, it's like basically you see in the liquidity on the top, you see in the big volume, you see in the buy sweeps, you see in the buy stops 63, you see in the iceberg seller, you see in VWAP right here. All of this is given confluence of if price action now starts failing and you get like buying exhaustion here and you see sellers start coming in, is a potential short trade entry, right? So this is how I kind of create my strategies around certain pivot levels, right? So you see there's no real pivot level here. There's yesterday's highs. So there's IB low, IB low 30 and IB low, right? But I use pivot levels for my resistance and support levels. So now we see VPOC is migrating down. We come down into price action here at 63.10.50 at the automatic rally. And now we want to see who's going to take control because now this is the highest volume for the day. This is anchored from the RTH open. So from the RTH open, this is the highest volume so far on the volume profile. That's the volume profile right there. That's the highest volume area. And I have it separate so you can see there's more sellers here, 4,046 compared to buyers, which is 3,454. I also have the trades counter, which is showing more sellers, 532. No real buying. And the trades counter VPOC or the POC is that blue line. So that's now migrating to the downside right here as well. So most amount of trades and the most amount of volume is taking place right here at yesterday's VPOC, just above these weekly session VPOCs as well. Not really seeing too much selling volume right now. All of my market pulse stuff is basically in the mean area, right? Nothing is spiking to the upside like over here, buying spikes. All of this is confluence for the reversal. You see it turns from green into red, showing potential short trade entries, showing that the volume pressure imbalance is spiking to the buy side. So there's potential exhaustion right there. So let's open this up a little bit. So we're seeing some buying around VPOC, right? But it's not really major buying. We're seeing some selling here as we broke down from VPOC. Low volume retracement, some volume stepping in, falling off, stepping in again, but not really able to push through this liquidity here. All this liquidity on the offer, not really pushing through there as yet. All right, so the CVD here is still to the sell side, but moving up, but still to the sell side. So minus 10,338 in volume. All right, so the VPI is to the buy side now, crossing over to the sell side, breaking down automatic rally. Let's see if we get volume coming in. We got some volume coming in there. All right, let's close this up. Let's get a perspective on the volume bars. So volume is coming in, right? See, we're sweeping levels right there. See, the buy sweeps is coming in, 99.21. We have sell stops going off, 57 sell stops. We have 4 icebergs trying to support, volume coming in heavy, 63.05 on the bid. We got to take that out. Heavy volume coming in. So if heavy volume is coming in, we got to get to this level, 63.05, and take it out. See, volume pressure imbalance is now spiking. All of it is green, volume pressure and volume pressure imbalance. Possible reversal around this level here. Maybe it might get absorbed by this 63.05 bid, 159 on the bid. Iceberg buy is 24. Volume increasing. And we're down here, the selling climax is 6,300. We have 293 on the bid right here. So let's see, we're going for the spring. Let's see if we get the spring. So remember our spring level, what we're looking for is for sellers now to take it down, break through this level. Nobody's going to want to buy right here, right? I'm going to be the only guy who's trying to buy at the spring, right? But I'm using the Wyckoff theory. So we're going with how accumulation works. We can't get scared when we see heavy selling. Most people want to short here, right? I want to buy the spring. So when we get down to this level, we break below these levels or maybe touch this level here with heavy volume. I want to buy right there. Right, so the volume is looking good. Let's open it up. Right, so that's our golden pivot zone. Camarilla S3 62.95.75. Central pivot 62.95.25 right here. We have something stepping up on the bid, coming down to the selling climax, but we want to break through that. I want to come down to Camarilla S3. Right, so you see that's low volume buying right there, retracement, exhaustion again, looking like there is going to be continuation. So look at those retracements on no volume. We have this bid here just waiting to get taken out. All right, iceberg buyers. See my iceberg ice weight right there? That's the market pulse ice weight, gauging when icebergs step in. So we have iceberg buyers. Volume pressure is still to the sell side, right? See we spike to the low, turn from purple to green. So we have a little consolidation now, but still to the sell side. Now we want to see this drop back down. See, we have the iceberg sellers transacting right there, putting pressure. We have 100 absorption right there. So this guy here just pulled and came back in the book, added more from 195 to 203. I think we're going to get this spring soon. So we're looking for this. All right, so this iceberg finished transacting right there. 125, 100, 125. We have a few buy stops coming out, not much. Low volume on the buy side as well. And this is first lower deviation, right? So that dash green line, first lower deviation. All right, so here come the sellers again. So down here is second lower deviation. So gotta look out for maybe we get the spring right here below the selling climax to the lower deviations, second lower deviations. But I think we're gonna hit Camarilla S3 and the central pivot area. We also have liquidity on the bid here as well, 138. Right there, 138. When I highlight it, it says 110 though. See, we have 328 on the bid right here. In the column it says 292, so maybe they pulled off a little bit. And that's right there at just above the weekly POC and the weekly settlement, last week's POC and last week's settlement. Iceberg still capping price. We have heavy liquidity on the offer right here. Right, so you see this little bubble right here. Right, let's see, could use a different shape. Right, so nice little bubble of liquidity right there. See, all of this matches where this liquidity is trying to defend yesterday's VPOC. We also got the weekly session VPOCs right there. And more liquidity around these levels here. And this is where we're trying to get our spring. Right, so you see the buying exhaustion is happening. Let me just open that up. Right, so we have heavy volume going into this liquidity, not being able to push up. So you see the heavy buying volume. Right, so rise in volume, rise in price into this liquidity, and now we're getting sellers. You see the exhaustion right there. That's how I gauge the exhaustion. You see where the white line is the best off, the last price. The red line is the best offer. The green line right there at the bottom is the best bid. So you see it's hitting the best offer again. We're getting some volume coming in there. Not like before, right? So you see the best offer isn't getting hit. We have the best bid. You can't see it because it's getting hit by the sellers, right? So we have a little battle right here, but there is some buying exhaustion up at these levels. And let's see if they have what it takes to break out, or break through this liquidity on the offer. I really don't think so. I think they're gonna spring down to these levels. All right, sellers taking control, heavy volume, volume pressure imbalance, moving to the sell side. Iceberg sellers to the sell side. And that's basically the iceberg pushing to the downside. That's selling icebergs. CVD is now pushing to the sell side again. It was kind of pushing up right here, still in sell mode, but basically now it's pushing down again. So there's selling pressure heavy. So just gotta be patient and wait on this accumulation. And let's see if we get our spring down at Camarilla S3. Right now the VIX is at 17.04, so kind of elevated. So I could expect the spring some volatility to the downside here. So basically I'm waiting for the push away from this area right here. See on the trace counter here around this level, mostly sellers. All right, so basically I'm gonna stop the video here. If we do get the spring and I end up in a live trade, just trying to narrate this accumulation and what I'm looking for the spring action to develop here at these levels, right? So a spring to these levels or below these levels, I'll enter a long trade. Right, so if that materializes, I'll do another video. So this was just basically breaking down the accumulation structure and possibly coming into a spring so we could get the reversal. Alright, y'all, it's Melek Shalama Trading. Y'all trade safe and stay blessed. Shalom.